Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 19, season 6 of the Stand Up with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Well, round 17 was full of carnage with plenty of injuries and another disappointing Warriors defeat, but we also got a game of the year contender between the Panthers and Bulldogs. How are you, and what did you think of the round?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Brad. I loved that first game. It was prelim final type intensity. But yeah, obviously our game disappointing, and yeah, we were just speaking about like Metcalf before he jumped on. Yeah, just gutted for him, but I'm sure I'll get over it, and the boys will pull themselves together. But yeah, how are you?
I'm good. That's why you're here with me, because I seem to be the positive guy now. And I was going to say Paul is not with us tonight, but he just snuck in the back. So, evening, Paul. So yeah, good weekend. That game was very disappointing. Obviously, made a million questions from the partner about, okay, so what happens now? Do I even bother keep watching? She's given up on the mate. She's like, I'm watching it for Luke, so I'm out. But I said, give it a game or two. She'll find someone else to fall in love with, and she'll watch it again.
She could get a job in the Aussie media then, because
yeah,
they've all jumped off us too now.
Yeah. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the round 17 matches. We'll then take a look at the ladder, fantasy teams, and the tipping comp. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we're prepared for each other. And then we'll preview the short round 18 and make our picks. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into it, mate.
Yep, sounds good.
Metcalf stuff we've got an hour-long segment on injuries this week, so we'll leave that. But last round, I forgot to mention it last week, but last round was the beanies for brain cancer round. That's why you saw everyone running around with beanies. And they announced that they raised about $3.5 million for the Mark Hughes Foundation. So, I forgot to mention it last week, but great to see. I tried to get one of those beanies as a lover of beanie wear, but all sold out before I could get in there, mate. So,
oh wow,
it's good to see. Anything you want to add to that? There's not really a discussion point on there.
Not really. It's no. Next one.
Next one was your mate Buzz. So Buzz Rockfield, he hit out at the Tigers and said the club is in mess again with no future after they lost Lachlan Galvin and Talon De Silva. We'll talk about Talon De Silva in a little bit in the signing section. But the heat's come back on the Tigers. How do you feel about it? I think the loss of Talon De Silva is only a concern if they lose Api Coruscant to one of those new teams.
Yeah.
And then got no one. I assume they've at least started conversations with Api, and that's why they let the young hooker go. But again, I rattle on about it on the show a lot. A lot of these young guys are expecting to be superstar, first-grade starters, and wriggle until they get a release to get out of their contract so they can go elsewhere. Tigers aren't the only ones that have that problem. So,
Buzz has to remember where the Tigers are coming from too.
Yeah.
They're not coming from the top four. They're coming from the bottom end of the table for a few years in a row now. So, it's step by step for them. And I think they've probably already got as many wins this year as they had last year by the end of the year. I'm not sure on that, but, they've shown better signs this year.
Yeah, and Lachlan was obviously a player they wanted to keep, but I think in hindsight, letting him go instead of spending millions of dollars to keep him is probably a safer option for the Tigers.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it's just nice to see that they keep going and trying to stab the poor old Tigers in the back again. Just leave them. They're kicking a dead horse. Just let them try to get a couple of wins. And yeah, Mark Roberts was here and said, Buzz on the Terps again this week. The old dum-dum needs to retire from being in the media. Yeah.
I won't
And
push back on
Jacko also said youngsters with a bit of talent have no patience these days. They want it all and they want it now. Yeah, that's the problem. You even look at, it's worked out for him, to be fair, but like the Reece Walsh situation. Reece Walsh wanted to be a first grader. Broncos weren't ready to give him that kind of responsibility. So he got out, he came to the Warriors, got to the taste of being in first grade, and then immediately went back once the Broncos could see he was going to be a guy they could throw in there. So,
nice to see him show a lot of love to his former mentor on the weekend after the game. Yeah, he looked very chummy with Roger.
There was actually a moment in that game where, because I usually shit on the bloke now because he's not with us, but it was when the Broncos scored their first try and Chance took quite a big hit, and all the players were celebrating. But as soon as it happened, you saw Reece saw Chance and went to Chance to see if he was all right first, then went and celebrated. But it was like the instinct to help out. So I gave him a little bit of credit there. But yeah, that segued all. We went from Lachlan Calvert to Reece Walsh, mate.
Call us Michael Ennis.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Next bit of news was we talked about Kangaroos coach, mate, Brad Fittler and Cameron Smith. Brad Fittler's said no to the job. He's rejected it. I was meant to bring down his quote, but he said it was a lot of responsibility and he just wasn't in for it, really. Didn't feel he was up to the challenge. And then Cameron Smith and now Kevy Walters are front runners for the gig. So what do you reckon you're going to go with?
I know Fittler was realistic.
Yeah, I know it's one of the easiest jobs in the sport, but do you think they're going to give it to the likes of a Cameron Smith? I know
I would.
They gave Billy the Origin job, so
yeah, why not? Who else is out there that's wanting that job?
Kevy Walters wants it, man.
No, I'd rather put Cam Smith there than Kevy.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll probably have it. In a couple of weeks, they'll probably make an announcement. They're supposed they're not really in a hurry. They'll wait till Origin and all that's out of the way before they start giving us announcements on the internationals. But yeah, I'd probably go with Cameron Smith too. Out of the two that they've mentioned, him and Walters, that would be the one I'd go with. But yeah, that's what it is, mate.
He's got an epic rugby league brain, that man. So
he does.
I promise you, he would not do a bad job.
No, I'm sure you'd do fine. And Warriors coach, mate, Andrew Webster, he was rumored, I couldn't find anything confirmed, but he was rumored to be lodging a complaint with the NRL after being upset about multiple dud calls the Warriors got against the Broncos. His main issue was the penalty the Broncos got to push out the lead after Jackson Ford got an escort penalty on an offside Reece Walsh. There were a couple of duds. I'm not in the camp that it cost the Warriors the game, but it didn't help. But I do like to see if coaches do have issues that they take it there. And he did have a bit of a bleat in the presser, but he seemed more calm and approached and trying to do it the right way. So nothing. Doesn't matter what you say; it doesn't change anyway. But it would be interesting to see. I didn't see any official confirmation that he lodged it or any feedback from the NRL. So I don't know. But what do you reckon? It was the right call, or you think you should just sort of keep quiet and leave it?
Oh, no, I like that he's front foot about it. I think, probably a couple of weeks in a row now we've had pretty poor discipline. That's probably a little bit on us, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't think any of that cost us the game. It was clear from the outset, the mind frame of the two teams. We came out first set making errors, and then they punish us. And we'll talk about it in our review. But
cry about it.
We'll cry about it in our review. But I funnily enough, I wasn't too up in arms over the more disappointed in what we put out and the injuries than anything the refs did.
Yeah, and the NRL did actually come out about something, but it wasn't the Warriors. They came out and announced that they looked at the footage and confirmed that Josh Adokar did touch the sideline in the match against the Dragons, and that they stand by the touch judge's call. What'd you think about it? I was watching it and I was like, I think if the touchy didn't put his hand up and they went upstairs, it would have been ruled in my opinion. But I can see it anyway. You can flip a coin.
Yeah, I don't. There's no right or wrong call in that instance. I think.
I just wanted to see them score on the Dragons, mate.
I think it's close enough to the line where some part of his boot had to be nick and paint, but it's the finest of fine margins in that one.
Yeah, and Jacko talked about the Webster thing, saying doesn't hurt to complain, nothing to lose as long as the complaint has solid validity. Yeah, I agree with that. And next news, mate, George Williams, former Raider that went home to England homesick, he wants to return to the NRL. He's apparently announced over there that he wants to leave. He's still got time left with Warrington, and Warrington have apparently set a $400K transfer fee if a club wants him early. There were rumours that the Dolphins were interested, and Warrington were willing to drop the fee and do a swap and trade George Williams for Nikorima, but the Dolphins apparently didn't want to keep.
I heard that.
Didn't want to lose Nikorima.
Yeah, no. I thought George Williams to Dolphins is depth signing. I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me, but the way that Izzy Katoa and Cody have been combining, you wouldn't break that up.
No, I think it'd be one of the new teams, or the other option potentially could have been the Raiders, but I don't know if the Raiders will want him back after he, left them last
time. We need a halfback now.
So,
no, we don't.
We need a halfback right now. We don't. We've got a couple, mate.
We've got a couple. Yeah.
I don't want your negativity.
It's Tanner time. It's Tanner time.
But yeah, I was more expecting him potentially to rock up at the Perth Bears. That makes more sense to me. So we'll wait and see. And then speaking of those expansion teams, Jason Demetrio is apparently the favourite to secure the head coaching role for the new PNG side. So I think that's fine. We'll see how he goes. I think it's kind of funny. We were talking about Brad Arthur was the favourite for Perth, and now he's not getting a look in anywhere.
He did struggle at Souths a wee bit, Demetrio, but
I don't think that year he was sacked though. They had a lot of injuries and stuff. And
they did.
I think, but
he had a bad year and a half.
Yeah, and then the last bit of news before we get into the signings and everything, the NRLW season kicks off this weekend. Very exciting because the Warriors are back in it. A little bit disappointing because Millie Elliott's not, but Andrew Abdo has been discussing it this week, obviously, with the launch and everything. He said he's open to expanding the competition, with the end goal being every NRL team has a side, which I think it'll be great once you can have every NRL team has having a side, but that's not something I see happening in like the next 4 or 5 years. Just due to you got to get more and more of the talent there.
Yeah, it'd be spread way too thin.
So I think give it a little bit of time before the next one's coming.
Let it grow.
And see how it goes. But I'm actually looking forward to, especially this week, no Warriors game, mate. So we've got a Warriors women's team game to watch.
Yeah, awesome.
So it gives us something. So looking forward to that. And then, before that, before we go into the things, we got the Origin teams, mate.
Oh, yeah.
So now that Paul's here, I don't have to panic about trying to bring the pictures in. So that's good.
Do you want me to give you the winning team?
Yeah, I'll do Queensland, but if you want to do New South Wales.
Yeah, righto. Dylan Edwards, fullback. Brian To'o, Zach Lomax, wings. Stephen Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, centre pairing. Halves, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary. Front row, Max King, Payne Haas, Reece Robson. Edge back rows, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton, Isaiah Yeo, captain, and lock. Interchange bench, Connor Watson, Spencer Leniu, Hudson Young, Stefano Utoikamanu, Jacob Carraz, Lindsay Smith, Bradman Best on the extended.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of rumors floating around that Tortle won't be playing because his injury is a bit too much. So I assume, you would assume
Carraz.
that means Carraz will go in? What's your
More than
thoughts on
likely.
Carraz? I don't want to get in trouble, but I don't think he's anything flash. I don't think he's origin worthy.
It's
I think
controversial.
he's just an average winger, mate.
I think he's a little bit better than average. The other option would be Bradman Best into the... No, yeah, you could...
You can't.
No.
I don't see them pushing Latrell
Nah.
Crichton to the wing.
Nah.
He is your only option.
Crichton could go wing, but no. I think it's going to be Carraz if that's the case.
Yeah, it's no disrespect meant it. Judging by what our wingers look like in the weekend, I'd have Carraz.
To be honest, on the end of that back line and in a team like that, Carraz just needs to do a serviceable job, which I'm sure he would do.
Yeah, it's not a bad team.
It's a fantastic team.
I think it's all right. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I think it'd be all right. But we'll talk about the good team, mate.
Let's have your dumb team.
Queensland. They did make a few changes. At fullback, we've got the Hammer. Wingers, we've got Valentine Holmes and Xavier Coates. Centres, we've got the youngsters, or one youngster and one oldster that's made a comeback. Robert Toa and Shabuski. Haas, we've got Munston and Dearden. Front row, we've got Josh Papali'i returning. Harry Grant and Big Tino. Ruben Cotter and Kurt Capewell in the second row, and Trent Lorero lock. And then we've got Kurt Mann, Lindsay Collins, Pat Garrigan, Jeremiah Nanai, Reece Walsh, Jermaine Hopgood, and Josh Kerr. Great team. Great team, mate. I know a lot of people are giving Shabuski a bit of crap. I put him in the
good guns, mate.
I think he's been doing all right. And Toa has really done well, I think, in the Origin series after getting the early call-up. And it'll be great just to see Papali'i back there.
That's fantastic. That's a real good story.
But, yeah. I still think you guys are probably going to win it. But I know I'll be putting money on the Queenslanders. So
home ground is a nice advantage having in a decider.
Yeah, but I'm just probably going to go with the Warriors logic. One Warrior in it, Warriors team wins, so Kurt Capewell will get the job done for Queensland.
Right. Well, I'm going New South Wales. I don't even know why we bother.
We don't. But I bucked the trend in the last game, Matt, where I backed you boys in game 2 and got humbled.
True.
So we'll move to signings now. There were a couple, but with all the injuries, man, I was running out of time. But Selwyn Cobbo, not long after our show last week, Matt, signed a 1-year deal with the Dolphins. So 1 year makes sense with that Perth team on the horizon. You don't want to lock yourself down too long. Doesn't even have to move house, mate. So win-win for him there. Jazz Tavanga has signed a deal to join Wakeford Trinity in the Super League next season. So there were talks that Manly wanted to keep him, but I think he's decided he wants to go up to England, whereas his child is as well. So good for him there. At least he got a year out at Manly. Then Talon De Silva, as we already talked about, he is signed with the Eels effective immediately until the end of 2029. So we'll see how that goes. Feeling for poor old Riley Smith, mate. He's been doing all right, and now you got another youngin coming in to take his place.
Yeah, true. Where you putting Cobbo?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
On a wing,
their wings are pretty good,
or at centre.
The centres are good too.
I mean, Herbie's unreal. You would not change him, but is he good enough to replace Averillo?
Oh, yeah, he could replace Averillo, maybe. I know Bostock's out, but Bostock will be back for next year.
Yeah.
He'll be there somewhere. I don't know where I'd put him.
Interesting signing, eh?
Yeah, because I know he has said a lot he wants to be fullback, but he ain't going to be fullback at the Dolphins.
No. Yeah.
So we'll see.
There's always
I
at
guess,
least one player injured. Paul's quite right. But at full strength, wow.
do you want to go look at the Warriors right now? We need outside backs.
Yeah.
The Dolphins did try to push to get him now, but the Broncos are adamant that although they don't want to play Cobbo, they don't want him playing against them. So he's just sitting on the sidelines watching the games, which isn't a bad way to earn money, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll get to see next year where he's going to go. I know that doesn't help you, but he's a back. I don't really care, mate. Put him up in the front row. And then the Roosters also signed Junior Tupou effective immediately until the end of 2027.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't have much more on that.
No.
So we'll go to injuries.
Great insight there from Richie. Yep. I'm loving it.
Got places to be, but no. I actually don't.
Injury time. This is why I was trying to rush through everything, mate. I haven't even got all of them, but I've got all the big ones I think I could find. So Luke Metcalf from the Warriors, he tore his ACL. He is gone for the season. Second time he's done it, unfortunately. We were talking about it before the show started, about how gutting it was. I know there were a lot of people, I don't know if the Warriors fans watching have a different opinion, but I saw a lot of people were having a go at Piakura for the tackle. I thought the tackle was completely fine. It was just unfortunate leg placement by Luke. Yeah,
I applaud the shot. It was a heavy shot, and
shot.
An edge back row has to do that on a half. They have to.
It was just all about how he planted his right foot, unfortunately. Similar to Barnett, where his one was just a freak accident as well, when he got sniped by Chanel. But yeah, devastating for the kid after playing so well. But yeah, unfortunately, we're just going to suck it up and move on as Warriors fans, and hopefully that pretty man from the Gold Coast can help us out if he's the one picked. Then Chance, also from the Warriors, he did his LCL in his knee. He's out for 4 weeks. So
stink after the form he's been in.
Yeah, not great to lose 2 of your spine at one foul swoop, mate. But yeah, they got a couple of good options at fullback, so I think that they'll adjust accordingly. Then Kalen Ponga from the Knights, he's got a Liz Frank injury. They've said a return at the back end of the season, where if you look at their ladder, it might be too little too late for them at that point. There were some, so there you go, yeah, they're 13th right now. Still a couple of points out of the 8, so if they can string some wins together without him, which they have been known to do in the past, who knows. But yeah, big loss for them. Suafa Longo from the Storm, out until finals, did his hammy with a breakaway try.
Yeah,
sniped. It was the worst timing for him because he was taunting and then it went.
Yeah, couple of snipers this weekend.
Yeah. I've got one of them later on. But yeah, devastating for him too. Toby Couchman from the Dragons dislocated his shoulder. He's out for the season as well. He's been playing really well for that that stupid team, but yeah, devastating for him. You never want to see that happen. Hamish Stewart, also from the Dragons, fouled his HIA, so he's got an 11-day stand down. Cody Walker from the Rabbitohs did a hamstring again.
Wow.
Do you think there's a time where Wayne Bennett talks to him and says, mate,
can't be far off shoulder tap time, hey? He's quite long in the tooth, though, isn't he? He debuted pretty late.
He was a late bloomer, yeah. But yeah, there's got to be a point where you're just, even if you're thinking of the Rabbits and their salary cap, or you think of just of him and his own health, but it's just, yeah, he can't string games together right now. So hopefully this is the last one for him this year and he can come back.
Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah, then Jack Howarth from Storm had his appendix removed. So he is 3 to 5 weeks out. And yeah, Jagger said at least the next 3 games are not against top sides. So CNK missing, not a huge out. We've said that before, Matt, and we've been in trouble.
Hopefully.
But yeah, Fingers crossed. And then, another sniper, mate, Cody Nikarima from the Dolphins.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring as well. Daniel Saluka Fafita failed his HIA 11-day stand down. I still don't understand how he got done for that, because it looked like there was no collision with his head.
Yeah.
I think he was a bit hard done by there. Apparently, they are trying to fight it. So we'll see if that happens. And then Api Coruscant failed his HIA and he's got an 11-day stand down. So not a great week for the Tigers when you've lost some guys lost Luai to Origin. You've let the Silver go, and now Appy's out as well. So I don't know who have they got at hooker.
The coach will have to dust off the boots.
Hold on, this is great TV. They've got Tristan Hope as their hooker this week.
Is there anyone that could? Oh yeah. Who's that?
He has had one appearance in his career. One, and he's had 2. So he played in round 1 at hooker, and then he was 18th man in round 11 and round 13. Has 17 fantasy points. But he's the next cab off the rank now after you lose the top 2 ones. So we'll see. There's no better time than the present for him to go well.
I actually remember him now.
You remember now? Sure you do.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the round he played.
Yeah. Then we go to Naughty Boys, mate. So unless you want to add anything else to the massive injury top, there's a lot more that I missed. There was niggles. There was a few more head knocks and stuff. I just didn't have all of them on the page. Naughty Boy, we only had 2. We had Kalma Tuolangi, grade 2 crusher from the Eels. He got 3 to 4 matches. I forgot to update this, mate. This is great. This is why everyone comes to watch us, mate, because we're always on top.
This is why they're here instead of watching Sean Johnson.
Exactly. All right. Oh, no, they still haven't updated it on the website, so that's why I didn't. They're fighting it apparently, so it's taking a bit longer. So yeah, he has got either 3 matches or 4, depending on how he goes fighting it. And then Heath Mason from the Tigers, grade 2 contrary conduct. He's got 1 to 2 matches. He's also apparently fighting it because they need spine players this week for the Tigers. So yeah. So that is it. We'll get into the round, mate. We'll try to send everyone off at an okay hour this night. Starting on Thursday with the Panthers defeating the Bulldogs 8-6.
Wow. Only 1 try apiece here. 1 for Nathan Cleary for the Panthers, and for the Doggies, Jacob Preston. And Dylan Edwards' penalty goal, the difference.
Yeah, a hell of a game to kick the round off, mate. The Panthers welcomed back their stars and kept the momentum from last week. Was not pretty at times, but a great display of pressure and team biding their time before nailing their few opportunities. Still need to work on their errors a bit, but the sleeping giants may have finally woken up. Think they picked the right time. I'll talk about it a bit more when we get to the Bulldogs, but they had the perfect plan for when changes the Bulldogs were going to make happen, and that's when they capitalized. So, I kind of said ages ago beforehand when I wasn't giving the Bulldogs a chance, I said when they play the Panthers and the Panthers beat them, we'll see that the Bulldogs aren't up to snuff, but it was a lot closer than I thought it would be.
Sure was, yeah. I thought, massive win for the Panthers. They finally found their defence that won them 4 titles in a row. That trademark defence hasn't been there a lot so far this year, but seems like it may be coming back along with them. And what a time to produce a result like that against the top dog team so far this year. I'm sure it'll give them huge confidence, and maybe throw a cat among the pigeons in this year's comp. We were talking about them a few weeks ago.
No, they've still got no chance, mate. No chance. Your thought on the Doggies?
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good here too. We know that they have very high level defense structures, and they showed it here as well. The only the only try they conceded was off a Nathan Cleary charge down in the end. So, in a game of fine margins, very fine margins. Yeah, maybe their bench rotation that you were alluding to there, Brad, maybe not the right call in hindsight.
Yeah, it was a real test for the tabletoppers, or former tabletoppers, I should say, and they looked to have the edge in the early stages, but were just let down by errors and discipline. It's a running theme in this round for the losing sides, but they've been on a hell of a run. But this, perhaps taking a positive spin on it, could be seen as a wake-up call to say that they're good, but they've still got a lot to work on. But as you said, one try conceded and it was a charge down. But that came from the spine shuffling, which is my concern. Like I know, they brought the shiny new toy in Galvin and they want to use him, but bringing him on and just rearranging your spine, I felt it disrupted their flow. That seemed to be the moment where the Panthers got an edge. And I think even the commentators said, once they changed that, Burden became the primary kicker. So that is why he got extra pressure from Cleary, which resulted in the charge down. It's not always going to result in the charge down, but that's just what it was. And I think they've just got to bite the bullet and go, okay, Sexton, you're out. Galvin, you're in, if that's what they want to do, rather than changing it. They still will probably win more games than they lose with that changing of plays, but do you want to be in like a finals game and you do that and it costs you? I don't know if you do. So I would change that myself. I feel like it just takes away their momentum.
That's so unfair on Sexton, though.
It is completely. I think Sexton's been playing really well, but they didn't buy the shiny toy to just look at it on a shelf, mate. They're not like me. And Jago said Panthers have a good draw going forward. Very likely they'll make the 8. Yeah, I think they will make the 8 now. I know I said they didn't have a chance, but they're in the 8 already. And I was looking at their draw, and there's, I think, quite a few of the games they've got left should be locked down as wins.
So their draw is Eels, Rabbits, Tigers, Titans, Cowboys. So that's a nice run there.
They win all of those.
Then Storm, Raiders, Storm Raiders, Bulldogs, Dragons. So three tough ones in the last 4 then.
Which is probably good timing. Get them nice and primed. Or knocks them out.
Or it knocks them out, yeah. So I think the Warriors brought them back into form, mate, and they're going to make us all pay for it. I know I saw a few people say after they won, they were rolling their eyes saying, please don't tell me we're going to get a Panthers Storm grand final again after the Raiders, the Warriors, and the Bulldogs and all that have come up, and then you're going to get like a repeat of last year. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I know Nathan Cleary top fantasy was 79, Paul said. Who'd you go with?
I went that way.
Yeah, so did I, mate.
Yeah. He had the game-defining play.
Yeah, it was beautiful. As a guy in my fantasy team, I was very happy to see him score that try, so that helped me out. We'll go to Friday. The Seagulls defeating the Tigers 28-10.
5 tries to 2 here for the Sea Eagles. Jason Saab, Ruben Garrett, Tolu Kola, Corey Waddell, and Ben Trojevich. For the Tigers, Alex Seyfarth, Talon De Silva. The outgoing Talon De Silva.
Yeah. Very slow start for both sides with points proving hard to come by in that first half. But the Seagulls hit their stride in the second, which is another ongoing theme in this round. The new backline looked dangerous, with Tommy Turbo out at centre. And while he may not like it, it does make their team stronger because it lets the impressive Hopewadi stay at fullback and add some much-needed spark to that team. It was a good bounce back, I thought, from them, but they need to keep it up and prove that it's not a fluke. I forgot to put in the news section, but there's still a lot of talk about issues behind the scenes with the coach, but a good way to silence rumors like that is to win on the field. So they've done the first step. They just have to keep going. Your thoughts on Manly?
Yeah, a good result. Definitely a much needed result. They found a little bit of attacking mojo again, and in the end put the Tigers away in the second half. Much like Jacko there, I'm still not convinced they're going to be a threat anymore this year with everything going on. I think there's just too many negative vibes in that club at the minute. And although the start of the year I was probably picturing them as a dangerous team, they've fallen off the radar a bit for me.
Yeah, I don't think either team plays finals. And it wasn't a great watch when we had like a finals worthy game the night before. It was definitely a step down in entertainment. But your thoughts on the Tigers?
Yeah, just not their week.
Just on the stats front, the Seagulls topped all of the attacking stats, as in run meters, post contacts, line breaks, tackle breaks, average set distance, kick return meters, all that kind of stuff. But probably let themselves down with errors, 14 errors to 8 in that one. So lots of attack, but as you say, perhaps not finishing or being clinical in that.
Yep, absolutely. It just wasn't the Tigers' week. They've played more positively than this recently, while not getting results. Felt like this game was a step in the wrong direction for them. But losing Luai on game day, definitely not helping their chances. So just Appy as well. Uppy with the concussion. So just not a good night for the Tigers.
Yeah. I've basically said the same. They just struggled to build momentum, and their lack of discipline keeps them on the back foot. Looked to be ambushed in the beginning of that second half and never recovered. They did have a nice finish at the end with the exiting Talon Silva as one of the select few highlights from the struggling club. But they have a fighting spirit, but without Luai and, as you said, Uppy, they just lack someone steering the ship when they needed it. So unfortunate. But unlike Buzz, I still think there's a bright future somewhere in the distance. It's there. Time will tell. Terrell May top fantasy was 76, and Ben Tavoyevich topped for the Seagulls with 62. Who'd you go with?
Ruby Garrick.
Yeah, I went with Garrick too.
He had some nice touches, hey?
Yeah, and he still was able to impact the game even though he was pushed out to the wing. So
4 from 5 off the boot.
Yeah, and that goal kicking is always going to keep him around. Next game on Friday, mate. The Raiders defeating the Knights 22-18.
Yep, 4 tries to 3 for the Raiders. Simi Sasangi, KO Weeks, Ethan Strange, and the young Stewart. He gets another one.
Just a try-scoring machine.
And the Knights with a bit of a second half comeback. James Schiller had 2, and Jermaine McEwen, all 3 of those tries coming in the second half.
Yeah, Raiders look great to start this match, making easy work of the Knights' defense, but got the speed wobbles in the second half with the Raiders' fade almost returning. But they did enough to hold on. Won't be their most talked about game this year with a lot of errors, but as long as they keep notching up wins, their fans won't care. And I think they're a very tough team to face for anyone right now. Besides that late comeback, I thought it was a dominant display from them. But your thoughts on the Raiders?
Yeah, that opening 40 was very strong, and it just looked like the flying Raiders we've been seeing for most of the year. Another game where they've buttoned off a little in the second, but I'm sure they'll look at it and it won't become a thing. I know they've had other games this year with the second half they've gone the other way and blown away teams as well. But a lot to like about the first 40 though. They just look so physically dominant up front with that pack and X factor to burn out in the backs with those young backs. Yeah.
And your thoughts on the Knights?
I actually thought a cricket score was coming up at halftime. And I threw a cheeky Raiders 13 plus in a multi, but what wasn't to be. Maybe I was the curse. But credit to the Knights. They made a game of it in the second, late in the second half. Thought thought their left side was having success pretty much that whole second half, even after Ponga went off. Schiller benefited with a couple of tries with some good ball going his way. Yeah, I thought that side was looking dangerous.
Yeah, it was just another 40-minute performance from the Knights. They looked a step below the Raiders and struggled to make any inroads in that first 40. Then the second half started, and some of the passes that wouldn't stick in the first half started to come off, and the points started to come. They just need to start performing consistently for 80 minutes if they want to get back in the winner's circle. And the loss of Ponga, that may be easier said than done, but yeah, it's it. Just 80-minute consistently playing for 80 minutes will get them a lot closer to winning every week. They just switch off too often at the moment. Who was our player or most points, Paul? I know you like talking about how the Knights have the lowest scoring in the league, but we need the good data. Zach Hosking topped with 71. I should have remembered that. He's in my team, mate. Spoilers for later.
That's just what he does, though.
Yeah. Who'd you go with?
I went KO Weeks, though.
So did I, mate. We're 3 from 3 now.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but he's just really impressive pretty much all year. Coming from where he came from, he wasn't getting a look in at Manly, and then came last year, and Stewart, gave him some regular game time, and this year it's like he's coming of age this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, most run meters with 293 in the game, and also got 3 line breaks as well.
Yeah, he's very dangerous with ball in hand. And Jacko said the Knights need a top halfback. That's why they spent, the money for half a country on getting Dylan Brown there next year.
Who's a 6?
Who's a 6? He's the answer to their problems, apparently. That day, unfortunately, Broncos taking the Warriors down 26-12.
Yeah, 4 tries to 2 for the Broncos. Katoni Staggs, Josiah Karapani, and Shibasaki had 2 for the Waz. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Leka Halasima with another one.
Yeah, strong effort from the Broncos here. Their forwards bullied the Warriors, and they took advantage of the mistakes that the Warriors made and punished them for it. Errors were a bit high, but they were able to defend their mistakes better and never looked in doubt, unfortunately for us. If they can build this, a top 4 spot isn't out of the reach. And yeah, I said they bullied them. They dominated that Warriors pack. When you looked at the running meter stats, I think it was Aaron and James Fisher-Harris cracked 100. I think everyone else is around the 50-meter mark, which is nothing when it comes to first grade forward packs. So yeah, just a very the scores are a lot closer than the dominance was. There were factors for why it didn't help, but yeah, credit where credit's due. Broncos thoroughly deserve that.
We are missing Barnett, especially in the early exchanges. You're very right, Jacko. I thought this game showed it more than our previous one. I saw a lot of people in the comment sections on Facebook bagging Fisher-Harris, hey?
He did all right.
But in general, like his signing for the year. But I don't know. His impact is different for me. You don't see it in the stats.
Yeah, he's not a stat fiend like Adam Fanor-Blake is, and I think that's the mistake people make when they saw him. They go, okay, he's going to be the new Adam Fanor-Blake. That's not who he is. He does a lot of the little things, and I think when we talked about his signing last year, I said the biggest benefit you're going to see from him, which I believe is already happening, is
the young forwards.
The young forwards and how they're going to develop, and you're seeing that with your Leckers, your Labans, Varmungas, all of them have come up and doing really well. Who's to say that was going to happen anyway? We don't know. But yeah, Jacko said Fish needs a partner. Good front rowers all come in pairs. Yeah, having him and Barnett together was a real good tandem. They need to find someone to replace Barnett in that tandem, and they haven't found it yet there. If we had Tohu, it would be perfect. But
so dropping stats, you talked about run meters. That was look at 1,552 compared to 1,351. But I think the one to me that jumps out is line breaks 6 to 4. sorry, line breaks, but followed by tackle breaks, 36-17.
Yeah.
So that first up tackling just wasn't there. Just breaking that first tackle, which puts you on the back foot.
Yeah. And your thoughts on the Bronx, mate?
Yeah, did a bit of blabber there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Brad, you're quite right. They definitely won that physical battle, which set them on the right foot. Some really big physical shots. I'm thinking Tony Staggs, Piakura, and their middles just rolled up the field all day long. This is definitely more like the Broncos have been expecting to see this year, but haven't. But like the Panthers, I think we might be starting to see a incline in their fortunes, and their form's starting to pick up. So I hope it tapers off again, especially with the Broncos. Everyone knows I don't like them, but yeah, especially now that they've injured Lukey Met, it's couldn't have been a worse result for me.
Yeah, and before I ask you about the Warriors, Jacko said, thinking outside the square, Marty Tapau's available, maybe he could fill in for the season. I don't see it happening, but I wouldn't say no to them looking at someone like that when they've got the money for it to just go, we'll pay you till the end of the year, just like a short-term deal just to get through the hump. I don't see them doing it. I think they got the young guys there, but I think an experienced guy that won't get bullied would be handled, or would be nice, but I just don't see it happening.
I think we'd be fine if Niokore stepped up in that middle. I was a little bit disappointed with what he put out on the weekend. The handling error right off the bat. Hardly any run meters for such a big physical guy. I know he's capable of more.
Yeah, that's true. He should be that guy that's doing that role right now. And I think he's been playing all right this year. But that game, right. The moment he dropped that ball, it's like all confidence left him, and he just didn't do anything. But yeah, your thoughts on the Warriors?
Yeah, just not the accurate Warriors we're used to seeing this year. So far this year we've been a high completing team, build pressure. The tone was definitely set early with that near Correa drop ball down our end, which the Broncos cashed in. It just carried on from there with more errors and poor discipline. We touched on the lopsided penalty count earlier. So that was the theme of the game for the Warriors. But sorry to be negative, but it's made worse by the injuries too. But this team's shown their resilience, so maybe the buys come at a good time, and back on the horse.
Yeah, and before I rip in, Jacko said Niokore doesn't look happy in the middle. He's far better on the edge. Yeah, he's in the middle out of necessity though, and he's just got to, if he's not happy about it, he's got to suck it up. Kurt Capewell doesn't want to be a centre, and he's currently running around as the best centre the Warriors have. So when this stuff happens, you just got to stick it up. We don't really have someone to replace him up front at the moment. Your Tapau solution would fix that. You could have him there, and then you could put him out on the edge again. I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do. They've got an extra week and a half to figure out what their 17 is going to look like. But it was just another bad night for the Warriors. They made too many errors, and discipline was the worst it's been all year. They've been praised for how great their discipline's been. It was the complete opposite this one. Even if, as we mentioned earlier, some of them were a bit of a stretch, it's still, similar to what we said about the Origin 2. Everyone complained about New South Wales penalty count. May have been a bit higher than it should have been, but it wasn't far off. Same rule applies here. Some of them you could throw away, but there was quite a few in there that the Warriors did. And so Paul's brought it up. 5-8 the penalty counts. So not great for them there. The losses of C&K at halftime and then Metcalf not long after made things a lot tougher for the back line. But with the forwards struggling to make meters, it didn't really matter who the spine was. Showed a bit of promise when they threw the offloads in. That's when they started to make some inroads and the attack looked a bit more promising. But then it would just be errors again, like when they were close to been within a whisker of the Broncos when they had Ed Cossey open with no one in front of him, and he just dropped the ball like it was me trying to play. It was a flashback, man. It's like I could just see my fat ass on that wing going on easy days, but no, just heartbreaking watching it. I picked him as my player to improve this week. I haven't had as much interactions as people we know have, but anytime I met him, he seems like a hell of a nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
But you're not paying them to be nice guys. You're paying them because they've got to be good footy players. And it's just...
Yeah. He deserves the shot,
his
though.
day, you just don't know what you're going to get. He did. Every other game he's played this year, he's been pretty good.
Yeah. It's just he had a bad night in the office.
Yeah, and it's just when it's not going right for him, nothing goes right for him, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, the bye coming this week, mate. As funny as it sounds, since it was only like a short sleep since the last one, it's coming at the perfect time. With the Warriors seriously needing to go back to the drawing board. They've got to work on a lot of the things that have gone wrong the past couple of weeks and start planning what their new look spine is going to be for the rest of 2025. So it's actually good that they've got a week to work together with whoever they're going to pick.
Yeah.
Rather than just throwing them straight out there again.
Yeah, look, with Tigers, Knights, Titans coming up, it's not a bad way to bed in a new combo.
True. Very true.
Yeah. And Paul, I did see you put who the fantasy leader was. Yeah, Shabasky. Topped with 76. I went with him as well. He got a double and was just dangerous. Helped. He was going up against Cossey and Berry, who didn't have their best night defensively, so that helped him too. But I thought it was a great game from him, and probably the reason he got that Origin call up. So, who'd you go with?
I actually went the other centre, Tony Staggs. I don't think he's probably quite as busy as Shibasaki, but lots of big moments. The try where he sort of, just bullied Chance away from the ball, and I think he smacked Chance a couple more times, which really made Chance look gun shy. And in the end, he almost looked like he was hobbling from the first 5 minutes of the game.
I think that first hit for the try, he was hurt.
Yeah.
And from there, he was battling.
And him whacking Jacob Laban and standing over him, it kind of just summed up the game for me. It just, that's kind of what the Broncos did to us.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't look at the fantasy points for all the guys you choose, but just a quick look. Tony Staggs, 31 points. That might be the lowest fantasy points person ever that's got player of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like just like I said, I don't think he was the busiest, but he just had some key moments that I think
big moments, and big moments really don't always equate to fantasy points.
Yeah, but that's
despite 80-90% of the time us picking the fantasy leader anyway. You just got to throw a couple in to keep them guessing, Paul. We'll go to the next game. Dragons, unfortunately, defeating the Eels 34-20.
6 tries to 4 for the Dragons. Nathan Lawson, he had the first 2. Corey Allen, Kyle Flanagan, and 2 for Val Holmes. For the Eels, Josh Adokar, Zach Lomax, Dean Hawkins, and Kalma Tuolangi.
Yeah, dominant first half from the Dragons. They hit the ground running and never looked back. Their attack looked more potent, and they shut down most of the Eels' attack. Then it looked like they came out in the second half with the wrong attitude, leaving the door open for an Eels upset. But their defense came clutch in the final 20 to hold on for the win. A bit scratchy, but a much-needed win in the books for them. Had me really disappointed. We talked last week on we'll go about tips later, mate. I made 2 risky tips. Both of them failed on me.
Oh, no.
And this was the second one of the 2. But yeah, your thoughts on the Dragons?
It's a good win for them. Their attack in the first half in particular, they were on song. Some nice second phase play and line breaks through the middle. Put off the gas a little in the second where the Eels came out a bit stronger. But much needed win for the Dragons. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, and your thought on the Eels?
Just a very poor first half. Not a lot went their way. Defensively, they weren't there. Second half was a little better. Some nice moments as the game went on. Scored some nice tries, but they left a lot to do after the first half, and they left too much to do.
This is one way stats are a lie. The Eels led pretty well. All the attacking stats apart from post-contact meters, all the passing stats apart from dummy passes, which who cares? They led the kicking stats as well, and the defensive stats. They led all the stats pretty much in this game, apart from a couple of negative ones, which weren't that lopsided. One where the stats didn't tell the story.
Yeah. Did you just talk about the Eels? You did, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Yeah. Paul always distracts me. My attention span is so little. Before I talk about it, Jacko said, watching King Gutho. You just pop up. Can't help it. Jacko said King Gutho, his playstyle is what he thinks Tane Tuapiki should replicate. Lots of energy and always sniffing around the ruck and halves for an offload. Yeah. That's a fair shout. If there's a fullback you want to replicate, King Gutho is never a bad one.
He's got a good foundation, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Good footy.
But brain. The Eels, they were just their own worst enemies at times, just unable to ice opportunities and struggled to defend the Dragons early on. Started to make some waves in the second half using their offload game and making use of their X-factor players. The call on Adokars breakaway being pulled back just showed luck wasn't on their side. Valiant fight back, but just need to start better. Again, very similar to the Knights, play 80 minutes and they might have got this. Valentine Holmes topped with 78. Who'd you pick?
I'm back on the fantasy wagon.
Go with Valentine. So did I, mate. So did I. Thought he had a nice double. The end, his goal kicking made sure they kept the pressure on the Eels, and just another solid game from him. Quite a successful signing, I think, for the Dragons, despite them not doing as well as they probably wanted. I think you could be more than happy with King Gutho and Valentine coming to the club.
Yeah.
Next one probably won't take as long, mate. Dolphins defeating the Rabbits 50-28.
Well, this part's going to take long. 8 tries to 5 for the Dolphins. Jeremy Marshall-King. The Hammer, he had 4. Cody Nikarima, Jake Averillo, and Kurt Donahue. For the Rabbitohs, Jack Wyden, Tallis Duncan with 2. Jack Wyden had a second. And Davey Mwale.
Yeah. Another strong performance from the Dolphins. Their attack's just so lethal right now. And with Hammer fighting for that fullback spot in Origin, all they had to do was get him the ball. It was great they're great to watch when they're in this kind of mood. But if I'm going to nitpick, because I'm sick of doing nothing but give them props, they just need to tighten up their defense a little, which sounds silly when they're scoring 50 plus every game. But letting in 5 tries could cause them grief against top sides in the comp. Some of that, though, those 4 tries were in the last 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So the game was over already. So you can kind of give them a bit of leeway there. But it's just a letting off attitude-wise that maybe is something they want to address. But they're probably one of the more informed teams right now, so I'm sure they're not too concerned. But yeah, it's just so good to watch. It'll be interesting to see how they go now with Nikarima out.
Yeah.
But yeah, your thoughts on the Dolphins?
Yeah, they definitely put the cue in the rack a little bit, hey, when the Rabbitohs start scoring. But definitely back to their deadly best in this one. The playmakers producing some dazzling ball playing to put away their outsides. So unfortunate, Cody getting shot by a sniper. His combination with Izzy Katoa, blockbuster TV, and the Hammer cashing in. What an audition for Origin 3 fullback position. 4 tries. Yeah. Ennis still thought Walsh had it. To be fair, Michael Ennis in commentary, but. Great stuff to watch from the Finns.
I was going to back up with Jacko's comment here that Hammer's tries were like the softest 4-try haul in history, because looking at his fantasy points, he didn't do much more than just stroll over the maybe ran back some kicks with some easy meters, but didn't do much more than stroll over the line.
He gets those though. Hey, he finds himself in the right spot for those.
Yeah, it's more.
Play.
You got to give him props for his situational awareness of being in the right place at the right time. And you want your finishers, you don't want them to be having to work for the tries. You want to be putting them in a situation where the try is just there. That's like a good attacking play. And
Izzy Cartel's putting them on a plate at the moment.
Yeah,
he's putting everyone through holes.
It was a soft 4-try haul, but there was a lot of hard work to put him in that situation. And the only guy I want to be seeing getting that treatment where, if only Johnston left and came to the Dolphins, mate. Can you imagine racking up all the tries and breaking that record in no time, rather than struggling with the Rabbits, who we're about to talk about. But your thoughts on the Rabbits?
Yeah, they had patches of good footy and scored a few nice tries in the second. Yeah, but we already touched on it. This was done by halftime. They just couldn't contain the Dolphins' attack. So defensively, very tough night at the office, and they did score some nice tries, but conceding 50. Yeah, I know the Dolphins are a good attacking team, but that's them for the year. They can't win the comp anymore as they conceded 50.
Yeah. Yep, they're done.
So is that a new rule? If you concede 50, you're not allowed to win the comp.
It's never been done.
It's never been done. But yeah, Rabbits just have a similar issue that we talked about plenty this year. They couldn't keep hold of the ball despite making several breaks, and defensively they just didn't front up. Always seems like it's one step forward, 2 steps back with this side right now. So I didn't really have much to add. It was just same problems we see a lot out of the Rabbits. And we got Paul.
Sorry, I don't have time to actually type this, so as I just looked it up. But the Dolphins now have scored more points than any other team in the comp. They're the top point scorer with 478. Second are the Storm with 459. So there's just a little stats drop.
Wow.
Yeah. And you said Tallis Duncan topped fantasy with a big 96, and the Hammer topped for the Dolphins with 69. Who'd you go with?
I went Izzy Katoa. If you watch the game, he was just picking them apart.
Well, the fact, hey, 4-try rule.
I know. I'm turning my back on the rule. I'm turning my back on it. It was a performance worthy of turning my back on it.
We create these rules, and all you do is rip them apart, mate. I've gone with the Hammer because of the 4-try rule. I don't care how soft they were. He scored 4, so he gets it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you do this every week, man. Next one on Sunday. And Jacko said, the apprentice coach gave the old Master Bennett a lesson. Yeah, that's a hell of a way to show that the Bennett curse isn't around anymore, isn't it? Sunday, Storm defeating the Sharks 30-6.
5 tries to 1 for the Storm. Ali Katoa, Sua Falongo, Nick Meaney, Jerome Hughes, and Trent Lero. For the Sharks, Braden Trindle.
Yeah, it was a close match in the first half with the Storm's momentum getting halted by some poor discipline. But then, like many other games this round, they hit their stride in the second half and never looked back. Katoa was a standout for me that helped the Storm find their mojo. And if it wasn't for a few silly errors and an unfortunate injury to Falongo, they could have added a few more tries to the tally at the end of the game. But in the end, they weren't actually needed. And it's just another team building nicely for finals.
Yeah, good win for the Storm. That right edge combination between Jerome Hughes and Ali Katoa, near unstoppable when it's on. I can't help but enjoy watching the plays that Ali Katoa comes up with from a fanboy point of view. It's great to see him flourish, and he's just so well rounded, a threat on the ground, in the air. He's just got it all at the moment. So. Yep, enough of going on about one player. That was a good win, though, to heap a bit more misery on the Sharks.
And yeah, speaking of them, your take on the Sharks?
Bad night all round. My faith in their ability to go deep into this comp pretty much gone at this point. I was high on them at the start of the year before seeing, what's been unfolding. But yeah, it's just like after beating the Storm a number of weeks ago, it's almost like they've not been the same since. At that point they were looking good, but yeah, they've taken some heavy losses recently. So yeah, not the greatest.
Yeah, I thought the Sharks kept the Storm honest in the first half, but once the Storm started to stretch their legs, the Sharks simply couldn't keep up. The pressure of playing catch-up footy saw them make too many mistakes, and they just never looked confident enough to be competitive and need to find something to spark their attack before it's too late. Which is, I thought Adam Fanua-Blake was going to be that final missing piece of the puzzle to sort the Sharks team out, but they seem to be getting worse, not better. So I don't know, do we just...
he can come back if he wants.
Yeah. Do they have to, get rid of Hines? Do they need to get rid of the coach? I don't know. But there needs to be something drastic changed because it's the same story every couple of years. Like the last few years, it was always they were bullies unless you were in the top 8, or more specifically top 4. And if you're top 4, they couldn't do anything. They were out of it. So, yeah, I don't know. They've got to do something. As Jagger said, the Sharks look like they're in a bit of trouble. I think they are too. Jerome Hughes, top fantasy with 80. Who'd you go with?
Ali Katoa. All right, yeah. I already went on about him, so that's all I picked.
Yeah, I originally, as you know, I put Jerome Hughes, and then I was writing down my notes, and it was all Katoa. I was like, why am I talking about Katoa and then picking someone else? So I went with him too. Big fan of him. It's great to see how he's developing over there, and long may it continue. We'll get him back in his couple of years to go in his career, mate. He'll come back here as a seasoned vet. There we go to the final game of the round. Cowboys defeating the Titans 30-24.
5 tries to 4 for the Cows. Zach Labert, Murray Taulagi, Scott Drinkwater, Jeremiah Nanai, and Scotty Drinkwater grabbed a second. For the Titans, Bo Fermor, AJ Brimson, Jojo Fafita, and Philip Sami.
Yeah, Cowboys were desperate for a win here, and it showed. They were clunky and error-prone, but they just kept pushing forward. Then out of nowhere, around the 15-minute mark, they switched off and let the Titans get back into the contest. Woke up in the final 10 minutes to save themselves from an embarrassing defeat. So much to work on, but it's always better to work on improvements after a win. So I don't really have a lot of positives out of them, but they got the job done. Full credit to them.
Point of view, there's not many positives apart from the one stat that matters.
The win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Cowboys, Matt?
Yeah, they won the battle in the end to hand the title of Queensland's flakiest team to the Titans. I think the Cowboys made the most of their chances in the first 50 minutes of the game, and then managed to concede 3 tries after that point. But that's not completely unexpected or surprising coming from the Cowboys. We know they have periods of poor defense, but yeah, they hung on for the win, and that's all that matters.
And your thoughts on the Titans?
Yeah, very brief. It's the same every week. They have points, but can't defend or win games. So yeah, feeling very chummy about my wooden spoon pick. Hopefully it plays out.
Yeah, I basically said the same as you, but I made it a bit longer. So the struggle for the Titans continues. They couldn't build momentum, had the surge in the second half where they made a game of it, but they just couldn't keep the pressure on. Heartbreaking for their fans, but until the Titans' defense improves, they're going to have to get used to it. And then both former top fantasy...
Defense, the Titans are giving up the most points in the game in the competition with 456.
Not surprised.
Yeah, and Bo Former top fantasy was 67. Scott Drinkwater was top for the Cowboys. Again was 61. Who'd you go with?
Scotty Drinkwater.
So did I. So I've gone fantasy leaders every game. I love it.
By the way,
except for Hammer.
By the way, the second weakest defense, or the defense that's given up the second most points, is the Cowboys with 450. So they're only 6 better than the Titans.
Yeah. So I thought Drinky did a great job for them in a messy game. But yeah, he's just dangerous when he gets a chance. So that was the round. We'll go to the ladder, mate. I think I had top 8, didn't I, last week? So I think it's you.
Yeah, you did. Okay. Yeah. Raiders move into first place. The Dogs drop down to second after dropping the weekend's game to the Panthers. Storm, Warriors, and Broncos all hold their place, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Roosters up to 6th. Panthers up to 7th. Dolphins into 8th. Whoa, feels like they should be higher than that, the way they've been going over. They had such a poor start. That's the top 8.
Yeah, and then the rest, we've got the Seagulls have actually moved up to 9th. Sharks moved down to 10th. Everyone else stayed in the same spot they've been. 11th Dragons, 12th Cowboys. The Knights are 13th. Tigers are 14th. Eels 15th. Rabbits 16th. And Titans 17th. Dragons are still close enough to get that spoon, mate. They're just got to keep losing and we'll be fine.
So Ricky sort of called out there the Dolphins' poor start to the season where they lost 4 on the bounce. Which was the only other team in the top, the only other team in NRL this year that lost their first 4 games?
This year?
This year.
Eels.
Correct. It was the Eels. Yeah. They were the 2 teams with the worst starts to the season.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still surprising. I'm feeling a bit more confident on the money I put on the Raiders to win the minor premiership. Now that they got the points differential in their favor. Bulldogs have to play the Warriors, so I think they're going to get another loss or 2 there. So I think I'm going to be. I think I'm going in for it.
The points differential is close, right? So the Raiders' current point differential is 104, whereas the Bulldogs is 96. So it's only an 8-point difference there. It is close between those two.
Raiders do have a nice run home though, so I think they should canter. But we'll see. It could be we could see a rampaging Storm or Broncos, change everything up. We don't know. But yeah, we'll move on to fantasy teams, mate.
Why?
It feels it just hurts. I'm very happy we're not in the same competition because I feel like it's like picking on a child with what you do with this. So you ended up on 683. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but to be fair to me, my team sucks.
I ended up on 967. The Warriors not doing as good as I thought didn't help me out. And Luke Metcalf getting injured didn't help me either.
Look at you complaining about your 967.
Yeah, well, I need to be pushing for higher. But some of those players we talked about doing well during the reviews are in my team because I know footy, mate.
Fair enough.
So we'll go to tipping comp. This is the one I want to skip.
Yeah,
because we've got a new leader, mate.
I know he was very vocal.
So can we talk about picking on kids at this point? Like you say, it was like picking on kids against Richie apparently in the fantasy. But now
the kids are picking on us.
The kids at the top, right?
Yeah,
he's blown all his jokers though. It's only going to go south for him.
Yeah, see these young kids, they don't know. The only one using his joker was your boy Mac, which gave him a 3-point lead at the top. Then ACT Hellcats second, Harry Poppins third, the Yerk fourth, MB Sports Fan fifth. You are still sixth. The boy from SMB as seventh, Bjorn finishes the top 8 at 8th. Then it's me at 9, Simon at 10, Michael Bazzuto 11, Roscoe 12th, and then Hammer last as always. Pretty similar. Michael was the only one who had a dog's breakfast, getting 4. Hammer got a 5, and then everyone else was 6s or 7s or the double 6 that your boy got. The 2 I got wrong were the ones that I said are going to upset everybody. So if I just listened to common sense, I would have got 8 from 8. So I was really pissy at it. And then I put this on my phone after the last game and saw your boy at the top there and
oh, I know.
I'm admin, mate. I'll delete him out of the comp. We'll just get rid of him.
Pull the pin on him if it's last round and he's still there.
Yeah. He's only vocal about that. He's not chirping about fantasy.
Okay, hang on. So who's the childish one here?
I've never claimed to not be a child, Paul. I'm sitting in a room with toys behind me on a shelf. So there we go. So that was it for all the pretty pictures for now. So we'll go to questions. I think we answered everything, didn't we, as we went on, Paul?
As you do pretty much every week, yes.
Yeah. Have you got any insightful question you want to throw us or not? Look, he's thinking.
Not
now.
really. No, I'm just. But you kind of threw that at me. So I was having a very quick look at that table. So is this your final 8 then, or are there, or is who do you think can change still from that 8, or do you expect this to be pretty much the final 8 come the end of the season?
I expect that to be very similar to what the 8 will be. There's a couple of capable teams still there, sitting in range. The Sharks, if they have a upward turn in form, but I think it's pretty close. It's pretty damn close.
Yeah, I think Sharks or Seagulls, if they sort their shit out, might be able to get up. But at the moment, the bottom 2 are the Panthers, Dolphins. I feel like they're going to keep climbing. Out of the 8 at the moment, the only ones you might see slide potentially out, I think Warriors with the injuries that they've had and currently not playing that well. If they fall and slide, they could get ousted. And the Roosters, out of the current top 8, they're the only 2 I'd probably say could theoretically go. But I could put money on that being the top 8. Not in that order, but I think that is the finals teams we're going to see. Seagulls and Sharks, nah. And Dragons are going to keep falling to the spoon, so they're gone. So I think, I'm probably more confident than Richie that that's the top 8. But
yeah, and looking at their at the runs, the Seagulls have only managed to put back-to-back wins once this season.
Yeah.
So you, with that total lack of consistency, you can't see them putting a run together towards the end of the season. Whereas the Sharks, at least, look, they've had 2, they've done back-to-back twice, and they've had a run of 3 as well. So they are a team that can put a run together under the right circumstances. But it sounds like they're just not. They don't seem to be adding up for some of their parts at the moment. For some reason. So yeah, there you go. That was my. You asked me for a question. I've given you one.
Very good. That's a good one. Should we do mine first? Mine might flow into yours.
Yeah, ours kind of go together.
Yeah.
So go with your one first.
Mine's a bit negative. Does the Metcalf injury hurt the chances of both the first grade team and our New South Wales Cup side if Tanner Boyd is promoted to the top side?
No. I suppose you want me to add to that. Tanner Boyd hasn't been playing New South Wales Cup because he's been 18th man, and the New South Wales Cup team is still killing it. They had their halves last week were Jet Cleary and Luke Hanson, and it was like 26-4 or something they won. And so I think New South Wales Cup team is fine. I've got a lot of faith in Tanner Boyd being a first grader for us. So but I'm not going to put money on him coming in and the Warriors first grade skyrocketing in success or anything. But for the New South Wales Cup, I think that's sweet. Jacob said Hanson's killing it in Cup. So I think they'll be fine. First grade is. I still think there's a good enough team in that squad they've got to retain the top 4 spot come finals time with the run that's going. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as an easy run, but it's an easier run than a lot of other teams have got. Like even the games Paul talked about straight after the bye. I think the toughest game is the Bulldogs.
To give you the run for the Warriors, then there's Tigers, Knights, Titans, Dolphins, CBY. Is that Cowboys?
That's Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. That's one. Dragons, Titans again, Eels, and Manly Seals. So the only top 8 team there in total is Bulldogs, I think.
Dolphins as well. Oh no,
Dolphins. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah. Dolphins. Yeah.
Yeah, so out of all that's what 9 games left. I'm pretty confident about 7. So unprofessional, Paul. Honestly,
Says that. Look, one of you two has had a buzzing phone all night.
That's
So
Brad.
him. That's
It's
him.
Brad.
It's not me. I am professional. My phone's off.
I'm gonna start texting you.
Dolphins, Bulldogs are the 2 games I'd be worried about. But as Jacko said, the next 3 games will define our season. Should win them all, but if we win one, we'll fall out of top 4 for sure. Yeah, if they don't beat those 3 teams, my faith, which is generally more than yours when it comes to this stuff, will be at a pretty low. They should wipe them.
My take on it. Although the question was negative, I agree with you. I think our New South Wales Cup side's flying in, and when Tanner's played there, he's done well. But I think Tanner is more of a true 7 than Metcalf. So him coming up, I don't think it hurts us. I just think our style might change a little. Our kicking game will be solid, but we lose a bit of X factor. So we'll just have to look for different points of attack and have other people step up. But I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think I said before the season started and not knowing what we'd get out of Metcalf, I think I said Tanner Boyd was the best 7 the club had. It didn't necessarily mean he was going to be the 7 they went with because Luke obviously wanted to transition. So from a start point, I say Luke's got the more upside, but Boyd's solid enough. He's not going to be a Dal EM halfback like we were seeing out of Luke, but he's not going to let you down. Fingers crossed if that happens. But
we're talking like it's a foregone conclusion. Do you think?
Well, that's what's going into my question, mate. So don't get
exactly.
too far ahead of yourself. Okay, so my question to you, mate. Metcalf is done for the year. Who are you picking at 7 if you were Andrew Webster?
I would pick Tanner. I think he's earned a shot, and Webby's made hints at this that he would potentially be next cab off the rank by praising him for his training efforts, calling him the best trainer in the club. So if that doesn't earn you a shot, I don't know what is. But the other option is obviously Tamati Martin, and he filled in when Sean was injured last year and did a good job when he filled in at 7 as well. So that's the other option. But I also think Tamati Martin in that utility role off the bench has come in handy a couple of times this year. And although Healy is another good bench option, but Tamati off the bench has proved handy. And I'd be reluctant to change that. And I'd be picking Tanner Boyd.
Yeah, it's Boyd for me too. I'm going to cheat though because we've got heaps of time. We may as well. I'm just going to read you my section of my review since you don't read my reviews, mate. So
I do, mate. I actually do.
In my previews, I preview
Brad, so if Brad would like to probably say the URL for his site so he can do the full sales pitch.
Mate, I don't know that stuff. Don't you have a thing that pops up at the bottom of the screen? Or go to my Facebook page and it's there. But in it, I say like who we're playing, who they've played. There you go. There's the URL. If you're not listening, it helps. If you are listening, it's bradanger3.blogspot.com. There you go. But yeah, I say who I would pick if I was in charge. But I don't just pick one particular role. I go for the whole thing. So I said, as for the team I'll select, Andrew Webster said that both Metcalf and Chance will not be playing. This is obviously written before we found out what happened. So I'd bring Tanner Boyd in for Metcalf and Torpiki in for Chance. So that's my fullbacks. I would also be dropping Ed Kossi, but with the current outside backstop slot, it makes it tricky. So I'd be looking at moving Kurt Capewell to centre and pushing Adam Pompey to the wing. So that was my spot. Or I'd be going Torpiki to the wing and Tamati Martin at fullback. I'm more like you. I want to make mine 14. But if we're spitballing and we don't want to move Pompey to the wing, that's another option. But yeah, we'll find out soon. But yeah, Jacko said Boyd's kicking game is the best in the club by quite a distance. Folk don't rate him because he came from struggling Titans, but so did Fogarty at the Raiders. So leads me to what I talked about this yesterday. If Tanner Boyd gets selected at 7 for the Warriors, the number 7 for every top 4 side is a former Titan.
No, I don't believe you on this. And I completely forgot Jerome Hughes played a game for the Titans.
He played one game for the Titans.
I completely forgot.
It's a stretch, but yeah, you've got, so first place we've got the Raiders, Fogarty. Second place, you've got the Bulldogs, Sexton. Third place, you've got the Storm, Hughes. Fourth place, you've got Tanner Boyd with the Warriors, which is probably more a reflection of, God, they give the Warriors crap about letting players go. I don't think the Warriors could ever say they had 4 halfbacks in the top 4.
And a Deli M one.
And a Deli M winner, yeah. So, but yeah, so that was a long way around for the questions. And Jack has said, Brad, the knowledgeable prop. Who would have thought? I'm pretty sure I heard it from someone else and just stole it, which is more prop-like anyway.
Just to throw a spanner, you're talking about the fact that you're liking to Mary Martin coming off the bench. I mean, the other option, because of his versatility, the option is you start him on the pitch and then and you put Boyd on the bench, and when you bring Boyd on, you put him into that situation. Then you can move TMM around. You don't have to.
Were you not listening to my talk about the Bulldogs? You're just saying what the Bulldogs did. No, don't change the spine, Paul. Leave those halves alone. Tamati's more like the jack of all trades. That's his strength on that when he's on the bench. I'd prefer to see Sam Healy there in that spot. But like as we've seen, our outside backs fall down all the time. So I'm just laughing at Jacob. Stick to Union. That's right. Paul should invite me onto the Union show. I could explain things about Union to him too. But
not likely.
Not likely. No.
Watch the All Blacks game on Saturday, and you can come on Monday.
Oh, that's a bit of a stretch. There's league going at the same time, Paul. But yeah, I like his versatility at the moment. Where like even we saw it on the weekend. We lost our fullback first, and he went out and played fullback. Then we lost a half, and he got moved into the halves. Perks of having a guy like Roger out on your wing too. So yeah, I think his versatility is a lot better for them in that type of situation. I'd normally say you don't want to prepare for a potential injury, but the way the Warriors have been going, those injuries are more predictable, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll find out. We're on our show next week. We'll get to talk about the team and see what he's going with. So we'll go to round 18, Matt. There's only a couple of games, so it won't take people too long. Mike Harrison also said put Team M at fullback, TT and RTS on the wings, Healy on the bench. See, yeah, ideally I'd be happy with that too. And then you keep Pompey in the centres. So, yeah, but we'll find out.
That's not bad, actually.
We'll just get rid of all of them and bring props in, mate. Props in every position. Props and Boyd.
Just bash it up, boys. Bash it up.
Yeah, so we'll go to round 18. Obviously, a lot of teams on the bye because of Origin. But kicking us off on Friday, we've got the Bulldogs-Broncos. Would have been a hell of a clash if all the players were actually playing, but they're all out because of Origin. Should still be good, though. Who are you going with?
I'm going Dogs. I think, I think maybe some of the Origin players being out hurts the Broncos more. Yeah,
I'm going Dogs too.
Yeah. So the Dogs are currently $1.48 at the TAB. Broncos at $2.65. They're always bet responsibly, folks. But yeah, the Bulldogs are coming off the loss that loss to Penrith, the Panthers at the weekend, looking to bounce back, whereas the Broncos are on a 3-game winning streak currently.
Yeah, see, I lost all my money on the UFC instead of the league last week, so
please bet responsibly.
Yeah, it wasn't very responsive. It was impulse at the moment, and I regret it still. Sad day. We got the Raiders Dragons. I've gone Raiders.
Me too.
They've lost some big guys in Origin, but I think Dragons.
So top of the table, Raiders are $1.30 against the Dragons at $3.50. They are not the shortest odds. They're not the most favourite team of the weekend. I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised as to who is, but there you
go. Oh, I'm going to try.
Yes,
hold on.
Who's in the room? No.
Is it the Roosters?
Storm.
Nope, the Roosters. I wouldn't be surprised with the Storm being the shortest odds of the weekend. No, the
Roosters
Roosters are the
Tigers,
shortest
yeah.
odds of the weekend.
Oh, surprise. Okay, yeah, I heard
Yeah,
your question.
yeah.
I heard your
The
thing
listing,
right.
that listing thing's a problem.
It's
for
a-
you, isn't it?
it's
It
a-
always has been.
Real weakness of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't just ignore. Go on.
So yeah, the second game on Saturday is Cowboys Storm. Pick Storm as well. A lot of Origin players out, but they're
It
playing the
doesn't matter.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Cowboys have heaps out through Origin too.
They do as well. Yes.
But despite how crap they are,
Yeah.
the Storm, the Storm are $1.30, just like the Canberra Raiders were. But the Cowboys are $3.60, whereas the Dragons are $3.50. So even though the Storm are just as likely to win, it's less likely that the Cowboys will win.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Jacka makes a good point. See, hopes Dogs win to deny Bronx 2 points. Yeah, Bulldogs winning helps the Warriors ladder position.
Yeah.
It keeps a further distance between us and the Broncos. So yeah, I'm going for that too. Sunday,
Well,
you really
it will open with obviously being a bye, you get 2 points, so it would open the back gap up from 4 to 6 points. Currently, it's 4.
yeah, which is great. Yeah. Then yeah, Sunday Roosters Tigers going with the Roosters. Sounds like everyone has, judging by you saying it's the biggest odds. So
yeah,
well,
$1.26 compared to $3.90, making the Tigers the longest odds of the weekend. Which I guess with the Tigers currently on a run of 6 losses with 2 byes in there, so over the last 8. So their last round 9 was the last time they won, which was against the wonderful Dragons. Whereas the Roosters are on a 2-game winning streak and coming off the back of a bye.
Tigers, no Appy, no Luai. No Appy, no
Yeah.
Luai. It's going to be tough for the Tigers.
it's going to be very
And
tough.
away from home.
Yeah, and then the last game, Seagulls Rabbits. I've gone with Seagulls.
Me too.
They still got Tommy Turbo. They still got DCE. I know the last by affected round they shit the bed, but I feel like they'll get it over the Rabbits without Latrell and the likes. So no Latrell, no Cody Walker.
You sound confident, Brad. You should throw your joker away on this round.
Yeah, I reckon.
As you say, throw it away.
Great.
With only 5 games. Richie, there for those of you on the podcast who are listening to the audio version, was nodding with Brad there. So I assume he is also going with the.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely went Manly. Yeah, goes without saying.
Yeah, it's just people listening can't hear nods, man.
Listen back, and I think this time you'll see that you were the one not listening to me. I'm sure I said it.
You said nothing.
I could be wrong. I
I was going to say, I think I made the point pretty clearly, Brad, before you had to. Sort of, anyway,
but you've got to explain it twice, otherwise he doesn't get it.
The Sea Eagles were $1.33.
I'm going to clip that and send it to you, Brad. I definitely tip them.
Just ignore the 2 bickering children in the background, please.
It's not me. I'm letting you talk. It's so anything else you want to add? You watch it back. It's on YouTube, mate. You can see. Anything else you want to add?
Where else can we watch it back?
You can watch it back on Facebook as well.
And you can listen on iHeartRadio and Spotify.
Oh, look at that! Look at that. See, you need to be doing all the promos, man.
You see, he has been listening.
I forgot to mention
the past 4 years.
Yeah. I mentioned it to you two last week, but I didn't mention it on the show because I forgot. The Warriors are doing a members only event this Friday. I'll be going to it. So I said I'll try. I'm really shit, as Paul knows, with taking photos or videos and stuff of things, but I'll try to get some pictures that we can bring up. Next week, it'll be a real short episode because there's only a couple of games to review. So it'll only be like a 2-hour one. So we'll have some time to do it. So I'll do my best. I'm still trying to convince the missus to come along, so she might be able to take pictures better than me because my selfie game is pretty shocking. But yeah, I don't know if anyone watching is going to that or not. But if so, say hi. But yeah, I'll try to get some pictures that we'll talk about it at this show next week. It's always great for them to do these things after a loss, mate. Remember the last one we got to do together? We got smashed by, I think, Manly, wasn't it?
think it was. Wasn't a great
And
time.
then we got to go into the sheds and get pictures with the players, and they looked as happy to be there as we were. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly updates on all things rugby league, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. on Wednesday here on Facebook or YouTube. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. You can listen to it later on Spotify, as Richie said. Thanks again for joining me, Richie. Cheers for your help in the background, Paul, and good night, everyone.